Yes. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Renee Angelo Mock. I am your facilitator for today. Today, we are talking about adopting a mentoring mindset. I'm very excited to be with you today, and I'm here thanks to our friends at the Y who are subsidizing our training today. And I, of course, am from Mentor, Maryland, DC. So Mentor Maryland DC, if you're not already aware, we are an affiliate of the National Mentoring Partnership. We serve as your community-based experts on mentoring, and we aim to ensure that Maryland and DC have everything they need to do the best possible mentoring for our young people. So that shows up in a lot of ways, like us doing this training, connecting you to the research that our partners on Mentor National do, creating public awareness. We're doing an advocacy day at the end of the month, assisting you with mentor recruitment and all kinds of stuff. So if you're doing mentoring, we want to be in touch with you and do whatever we can to help support you. Well, we are going to jump right in with getting our training started. And if you've been on any of our trainings before, we do have some standards for how we, hold ourselves in this space, in this learning environment. I don't want to spend too much time here because we have such a packed schedule, but we acknowledge that deep-seated racism, sexism, hormone transphobia, misogyny, ableism is pervasive in our country and how that affects our work and how we approach our work. We aim in our space for even myself as a facilitator, but for all of us, we hope we will share openly, but listen even more openly, and be open to when our sharing, may be hurtful. Be generous with our positive assumptions, and please don't ever be afraid to ask genuine questions. I always say I'll always be honest when I don't know the answer to a question, and we'll hopefully be able to follow up to find you answers, and I'll also let you know if a question's not appropriate for this time, and we can follow up another time. No matter your role today, we ask that you be a host. We'll be in some breakouts and things like that. So while I'm a host today, you'll see some other mentor folks on the call. We want to be, act as hostly as we can to each other. We want this to be, a community space, a supportive space, educational space, but we want to have fun today. We want this to be everyone to be as present as possible. Your full and present self is welcome. And our belief is that we are facilitating everyone's individual learning. So fixing, saving, or advising. And if you ever want to learn a little more about our community standards, we can connect you with the touchstone principles that they are based on. If you believe that anybody is in violation of these standards today, please reach out to myself or any of the other mentor folks on the call so we can follow up, and we will follow up as well if we observe that anybody is in violation of our standards today. Before we we are going to move right into our agenda. And then we're going to do a little poll to see who all is here. So just kind of a quick, rough agenda about what we are going to be accomplishing here today, which is really exciting. As we shift into the mentoring mindset, this includes learning about and acknowledging the power and potential of relationships and why it's so important. We're going to talk about the who, what, when, where, why of mentoring. What is mentoring? Where is it happening? Who are mentors? And then we'll actually get into the mentoring mindset and what it actually is. This will involve multiple opportunities for self-reflection on our experiences with mentoring. So again, I mentioned having a pen and paper for your personal notes could be useful. And then we'll discuss the skills you need to practice the mentoring mindset. I'll give you a mantra for each element of the mentoring mindset, so you have something to remind you of the mindset and help you shift into it when you leave here today. And for my friends on the call who are newer to mentoring and are getting serious about their mentoring practices, I'll introduce you to some tools for you to practice with and to use in your mentoring moving forward. So I'm going to launch some polls to see who is here today so we can really get grounded in our work and who everybody is. So I'm going to launch our first poll, which is who is here? What is your role in the mentoring field? So just choose who you are. Are you a program leader? Are you a program staff member? Are you a mentor? Are you a mentee? Are you part of a mentor-mentee match that's on the call today? I'll give you a little bit of time to fill that out, and then we'll see what the spread looks like. And you guys are quick. You're doing great. We're at 81%. That's great. So we're looking, we have a lot of program folks on the call today. Share the results real quick, which is great. Happy that our typical audience, most welcome and program leaders as well, which I love, and mentors on the call. Welcome mentors. It's National Mentoring Month, so it's your month, y'all. It's the time for us to be here, which is why we're hosting this specific training today. So I have two more polls, pardon me. And our next one is, what is everybody's experience with mentoring, right? So hold on, let's go to our next poll. What is everyone's experience with mentoring? Because this topic, it's relevant for all levels of experience. But I want to see what's the spread. And then also, as you guys make connections today, you can see, what levels of experience with mentoring that you're connecting with as you meet people today. Oh, wow. So it's looking pretty evenly spread, which I find so interesting. So this is great. Well, I love this. This means we all have a lot to learn from each other, that we do have some newbies on the call, which I love. And we have some people with, really great longevity in the field. So we'll have lots to learn from each other, which is exciting. And yeah, I definitely hope you guys leave with some connections today. And then my last very quick poll for you. Hold on, let's go back. Stop sharing. Okay. Simply, do you have a mentor? Yes, no. I'm hopeful with what I see here, but we'll see. And maybe this will change by the end of today as well. Or hopefully by the end of the month, because again, it's National Mentoring Month. All right. Again, we have a lot of unmentored folks on the call. So for my folks with all that mentoring experience, maybe there's a future mentee on this call for you to connect with today. And Eli says he's had mentor his entire life. Lucky guy. So we're gonna thank you for participating in those polls and humoring me. I appreciate the information. It helps me as a facilitator to know who's in the room, and I hope it helps you all as well as you connect with each other. But let's get into it. We're gonna start with a quick video as we transition into our power and potential portion. This is from what was called the Mentor IRL, Mentor in Real Life campaign for the National Mentoring Partnership, and you may see our old logo here at Mentor Maryland, DC.
If you mentor me.
If you mentor me.
If you are there for me.
I will miss fewer days of school.
If you mentor me.
If you mentor me.
If you listen.
If you mentor me.
I'll be 55% more likely to go to college.
If you mentor me.
Mentor me.
If you mentor me.
If you mentor me.
I'll be more likely to volunteer in my community.
With a mentor, I'm less likely to start using drugs.
I'll be 81% more likely to play sports.
I will be empowered.
I'll have a more equal chance to realize my dream.
If you listen.
I will have healthier relationships.
If you mentor me.
Mentor me. If you are there for me. One day, I'll become a mentor too. Become a mentor in real life.
Ignore our old logo there. But, for introduction, some of the amazing things that can come from mentoring. And what we also learn is that mentoring begets mentoring, right? People who are mentored are more likely to become mentors, which is exciting. So I'm going to read this quote real quick. Whether we engage with youth in classrooms, on the basketball court, or on the school bus, research and best practices suggest that students' relationships with peers and caring adults are a key vehicle for learning critical life skills like teamwork, communication, and coping with and expressing feelings. So for those who work in youth development on the call, which probably about half of what we saw on the call, right? You probably know this, right? And as we start to talk about the power and potential of relationships, of mentoring, we'll be looking at a lot of this data in an adult youth model, but I want to set you up now that the potential of mentoring applies to all relationships, regardless of the ages of the people within the relationships. We're talking about even peer mentoring, right? So as we shift into the actual mentoring mindset, I want to remind you that this framework can be applied to all kinds of relationships: coaching relationships, managerial workplace relationships, informal mentoring relationships. So keep those things in mind as we are moving forward. So the data you're going to see on this slide and the next few slides is from the 2023 study, Who Mentored You, which was released by the National Mentoring Partnership. We're going to drop a link to that study right now. But this study examined the role that mentors have played in the lives of Americans over the past 50 years. So as we can see here, mentoring has been present in the lives of all these generations, right? Formal program relationships and then informal relationships, the natural mentors who kind of show up for us. So as you can see, over generations, mentors have shown up, which is great. Or I'm going to argue that it's great. And we're going to see in the next few slides why it's so great. So when we look at those same generations and ask them whether they're still drawing advice from their mentors, huge portions are, at least sometimes or more often than not, drawing advice from their mentors still. And for those of you who came to our Askable Adult training in November, we know what power and importance it is to being askable, and for young people to have someone that they can ask for advice. And that's beyond just our youngest folks too, right? 70% of Gen X is still drawing advice from their mentors. So that's amazing. I think it's amazing. Tell me what you think in the chat. I think it's another reason why we want to make sure that mentoring is widespread and that everybody has someone, right? Somebody that they can garner advice from. So here we see all generations again, self-reporting at very high rates that they attribute some of their success to having a mentor. Visually, you could see very consistently across the board, across the generations, and this speaks to me to that old adage that we never do anything alone, right? There's always somebody behind us, with us along the road. And for my programs on the call, I know that you know in your funding requests and that you're reporting more positive outcomes for youth with mentors. But I think it's even more powerful to know that mentees identify that for themselves as well, right? So if they, pardon me, if you have had a mentor, which looks like at least half of us currently have a mentor, and you believe that your mentor is a part of your success, drop it in the chat now. I want to hear about it. Let's fill the chat with good vibes if you feel that your mentor has been a part of your success. So another impact of mentoring, when young people are growing and developing their identity, we know that belonging is really, really important. It's why we create programs, right? We're trying to create safe spaces for young people. We're trying to create community. So mentors are a part of that as well. And the research found that sense of belonging trended upwards as mentees grew up, that it not only created a sense of belonging as they were growing up, but once they, were adults, that they felt an even greater sense of belonging. More of them felt that they still belonged. So this is really powerful. And now more than ever, when we know that there is, pardon me, a concern of disconnection and loneliness, mentoring can be an intervention that can help create belonging for, even one person, then, it's worth it. So if the argument I'm making today, that if it's a simple shift of a mindset that can help you do that for someone, can help someone feel like they belong, why not? Let's do it. So we're going to do it. Yeah, Amelia says, mentors are an important part of my development over the years. Yeah. So the research found that those who did have a mentor are even more likely to also remember a time where they wanted a mentor but didn't have one. So what does this mean? Our young folks, so we're looking at the younger generations here, need more than one mentor over the course of their lives. So these are young people who already reported that they did find a mentor, but they were still remembering times where they didn't have one and they wanted one. So we're saying that young people need more than one caring adult to have a relationship with them, which I don't think is so much to ask, right? So for those of us who may not be mentors yet, I hope that this may inspire you, that our young people need more than one caring adult to connect with, because they're looking for them. They're looking for that askable adult in their life. So now we're going to get into the who, what, when, where of mentoring. What is a mentor? To put it as simply as possible, from our friends at Merriam-Webster, a mentor is a trusted counselor or guide, someone who may give advice, someone who may help guide us along the way, the journey of life. When we think back to the generations reporting on their success being in part due to mentors, it wasn't that they owed their success to mentors, right? It's that they had a mentor who provided counsel and guidance along their journey to success. And that can look like a lot of different things, which we'll talk about. So to define mentoring, we're going to keep it as simple as possible. Mentoring is what mentors do. And we'll get into today the mindset that helps mentors do what mentors do. So where are mentors? We talked about formal and informal mentors earlier. Formal being mentors that may be assigned through a program, an organization, camp, school. Some mentors are even woven into institutions like foster care and juvenile justice system. I've worked in programs like that. But then, of course, we have natural mentors, which can be found, in all places of our community, in our extended family, in our neighborhood, even like, somebody at a corner shop that a young person might see every day. So mentors can be all around us, right? So what does that mean? Where are the mentees? Surprise, they're everywhere. They're in all those places too. So that means the opportunity for mentors and mentees to find each other is huge. And if we as mentors can be ready to be in that mentoring mindset, we can maximize the potential positive outcomes that we saw in the research we saw earlier. So I want you to consider that while you and while we may not have control over every aspect of our programs, of our schools, of our institutions, of our communities, we do have control over one thing, our own mindset. And that's what's so exciting about the mentoring mindset concept that we're going to get into today. So I'd be remiss if I didn't address, the many important elements that are important to mentoring relationships. And you can see that this slide has links you'll be able to click on afterwards, and we'll drop some of those links now. We'll get these slides to you, all those things. But this is kind of the deep dive if we're going to get really into relationships, which we don't have all that time for today. So I'm leaving you with these resources. So one, an understanding of trauma and the impact of adverse childhood experiences is extremely important. We are hosting a training about this in April, Trauma-Informed Youth Development and Mentoring, where we're away. I hope you will join us. But two, we're going to spend 2 hours on the topic because it is an important topic and can really make you an effective mentor, right? Resilience and fostering resilience. Resilience is the capacity to rise above difficult circumstances, allowing our young people to exist in this less than perfect world while moving forward with optimism and confidence. And mentors can have a really important role in helping young people to foster resilience. So I have a resource for you there. And then learning about what protective factors and developmental assets support young people's growth and which ones you as a mentor can help to shape and influence is important. So I linked a resource from Search Institute, which I'll refer back to Search Institute a lot today. They're a great research organization that has tons of resources, but specifically they talk about, protective factors and developmental assets, which they found equal essentially positive outcomes for young people. And then critical mentoring. Critical mentoring is a concept and a book of the same name by Dr. Tori Weiston-Surden, friend of the Not the Mentoring Partnership. Definitely recommend that book. But critical mentoring provides the tools we need as mentors and youth workers to create programmatic spaces that support young people as they develop into themselves. It allows them to ask difficult questions, provides them with opportunities to find their own voice, and supports them as they work toward a better future. So for my programs, I've linked the critical mentoring supplement to the element of effective practices for mentoring, which is specifically about how to apply it to your program. And then positive youth development, right? So that's a holistic approach that focuses on creating a developmentally appropriate learning setting for young people. Another defining characteristic of positive youth development is that youth are treated as equal partners and engaged in their communities, schools, organizations, peer groups, and families in a way that are both constructive and productive. Social emotional learning, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the topic, is the process through which all young people and adults acquire and apply the knowledge, skills, attitudes to develop healthy identities, manage emotions, achieve personal and collective goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain supportive relationships, and make responsible and caring decisions. So this resource is from CASTLE, which I know a lot of schools use. CASTLE, it's the Collaborative for Academic and Social Emotional Learning. They have a lot of great resources for you to use. And then we have Social Capital. So Social Capital is the resources that arise from a web of relationships that people can access and mobilize to help them improve their lives and achieve their goals. So there's a whole part 2 to the mentoring mindset that's all about social capital. If you are interested in that training, please let us know in the survey that will pop up on your screen as we exit the training today. So as I kind of let on, those are the details. That's the weeds of relationships if you really want to go deep on relationships. Those are advanced practices, advanced youth development practices and mentoring. But today we're just going to deep dive into one thing, which is the mentoring mindset. So what is it? The mentoring mindset is a way of thinking and interacting that places young people or your mentee at the center and allows mentors or other caring adults to be true partners in a young person's journey. So this is a shift, a depersonalization of the self in the relationship with a young person, however old the other person is in the relationship, and a centering of the person you're in a relationship with, so that you serve as not just a guide, but a partner in their growth journey. And as we decenter ourselves from the word partner, it means that the mentee has the ownership of their journey. So what does that really mean? How do we put this into practice? So let's get into it. The mentoring mindset is made up of 4 parts. Starts with intentional, being intentional. I see you. Being supportive. I got you. Being developmental. I'm here to help. And being communal. We're in this together. So we're going to go section by section to find out what this really means, how to do it, reflect on who did it for us, and then we'll have a mantra for each one to take with us. So drop a 1 in the chat if you're ready to get started, you're with me, we're good to go. I know I've got a lot of information to get us primed and ready. All right, let's do it. So we're starting with intentional. I see you. So we're talking about being intentional with everything you do in your mentoring relationship, which if you've been in my trainings before, it's always what I'm asking us to do, to move with intention in our work. And being truly intentional requires us to move with care and slow down a bit. We want our mentees to feel seen. The power of being seen should never be undervalued. And remember back to our data slide about belonging, right? Being seen can be that first step, that invitation to belonging, which is really crucial for a younger person in their development, right? And you see here we have the word notice. So when we are moving with attention in our mentoring relationship, we're making that effort to notice the big, the small, the good, the bad, and we're gathering information about our mentee so we can serve them better, so we don't miss an opportunity to celebrate a win, to provide support. So let's get into our first self-reflection. So again, if you have pen and paper, this would be the time to get it out. So we're going to be doing a few self-inventories to learn about the mentoring mindset, to recall how mentors showed up for us throughout our journey. So it can help, again, shift our lens to how we may be able to do that in our own role as mentors. So if you have a pen and paper, I'm going to ask you to get that out now. I'm going to pose these questions to you, and I'll give you a few minutes to answer it for yourselves. We're not going to review our answers just yet. We're going to go through each element of the mindset, and we're going to do a larger group reflection at the end. But I'm going to turn on some music while we do this reflecting, and I will guide you through it right now. So for our first reflection, again, we're thinking about being intentional. I see you. I'm going to pose you these questions to reflect. To what extent did you feel you had someone outside of a parent guardian who knew you, your hopes and dreams, your lived experience when you were growing up? Who are you thinking of? And then how about as an adult? So now, who sees you for who you are? So take some time, take 90 seconds, 2 minutes, write the names of the 3 people who come to mind based on these prompts. To what extent did you feel you had someone who knew you, your hopes and dreams, your lived experience when you were growing up? And now, who sees you for who you are? I'll give you a minute to write that down. Okay, I'm going to keep us moving. So I'm sure many of us have heard of the growth mindset. We're going to watch a quick video to get introduced to the growth mindset and the benefits of practicing it for ourselves as we're, and for those of us as we're in our relationship. So feel free to drop your reactions in the chat as we watch the video, and then we'll talk about how this relates to being intentional and the ICU.
People who have a growth mindset believe that intelligence can be developed, while people with a fixed mindset believe that intelligence is a fixed trait. People with a fixed mindset think of intelligence kind of like eye color. They believe that you're born with a certain amount of intelligence and you can't do much to change that. People with a growth mindset think of intelligence more like a muscle. They understand that when you put in effort and challenge yourself, you can get smarter. Just like when you put in effort at the gym and challenge yourself by lifting heavier weights to make your muscles stronger. Think about this statement. You can learn new things, but you can't really change your basic intelligence. People who really agree with this statement have a fixed mindset. People who really disagree with this statement have a growth mindset. And of course, people might be somewhere in the middle. It turns out that the more students disagree with statements like these, the more they have a growth mindset, the better they do in school. This is because students with a growth mindset approach school differently than students with a fixed mindset. They have different goals in school. The main goal for students with a fixed mindset is to show how smart they are, or to hide how unintelligent they are. This makes sense if you think that intelligence is something you either have or you don't have. You want to show that you have it. Students with a fixed mindset will avoid asking questions when they don't understand something because they want to preserve the image that they are smart, or hide that they're not smart. But the main goal for students with a growth mindset is to learn. This also makes a lot of sense. If you think that intelligence is something you can develop, the way you develop your intelligence is by learning new things. So students with a growth mindset will ask questions when they don't understand something, because that's how they'll learn. Similarly, students with a fixed mindset view effort negatively. They think, if I have to try, I must not be very smart at this. While students with a growth mindset view effort as the way that you learn, the way that you get smarter. Where you'll really see a difference in students with fixed and growth mindsets is when they are faced with a challenge or setback. Students with a fixed mindset will give up because they think their setback means they're not smart. But students with a growth mindset actually like challenges. If they already knew how to do something, it wouldn't be an opportunity to learn, to develop their intelligence. Given that students with a growth mindset try harder in school, especially in the face of a challenge, it's no surprise that they do better in school.
So the growth mindset and practicing the growth mindset is being intentional about seeing and viewing your mentee as growing on their journey, not fixed, right? We're seeing our mentees as dynamic. And when we match the growth mindset with the I see you, the noticing part of the mentoring mindset, it's about noticing each step of growth in our mentee and using that information to our mentee's advantage, which we're going to talk about on our next slide. Cool. So the growth mindset strategy box. So this is a tool that we also review in depth in Connect, Focus, Grow. So we do have a Connect, Focus, Grow info session coming up, so you can learn more about that. But if you want to draw your own box as I describe it, get that paper back out. So this box, in the first 3 quadrants, you're going to list things that you are good at and that you have achieved. So, and you want to try to include things that you struggled with at first. So, and you're going to list, what were your success factors? How did you progress through the challenges? What actions did you take? How did you think about the challenge? In this last box, or the 4th box, this is where you're going to list the things that you identified that you're not being good at and that you want to change. So here you're going to list the most important strategies, steps, or beliefs that have helped you be successful. Oh, pardon me. Next, you want to list the most important strategies, steps, and beliefs to help you be successful in these first 3 areas. So you're reflecting back on these 3 things that you have been successful at. And then your last step is to review these strategies that helped you be successful at these first 3 things, and then see how that might be able to apply to this new thing that you're trying to get good at. So this activity, which you could easily do alongside your mentee, requires you to do that noticing, right? You're asking, what are 3 things that your mentee is already successful at? What are they already great at? What steps and actions did they take to be successful? And then when you and your mentee see it all written out, you can, it will not only help the new goal feel more within reach, you may have a renewed sense to be able to celebrate these past efforts. So this strategy box is quite simple to do. Doesn't require a lot of tools, resources, etc. But it is that matter of reflecting, that noticing and seeing, and something that you can literally, when I say do alongside your mentee, I mean you do it too for yourself, right? There is something about doing an activity with your mentee and you're modeling it as well. That can be really powerful for your mentee. So this again, I'm seeing some questions chat about handouts. You will get everything that we're sharing today and that you see on screen, you will get. But this is truly just a box that you can draw and these really simple instructions that you can apply. Any questions about this or thoughts about the strategy box? Cool. We're motoring, guys, which is great. So I mentioned, I don't know if you heard me mention earlier, but with each element of the mindset, we're going to have a mantra so we can help shift ourselves into the mindset moving forward. So again, we're wrapping up intentional, I see you. And I'd like to, if we can, try to read it together if we want to try to come off mute and read it together. So I'm going to ask everybody to come off mute. I'm going to start to read it and we'll read the mantra together. So I'm going to say 3, 2, 1 and start to read. So 3, 2, 1.
I will respect yours
Interest and identity, be fully present in our interactions, share my story with you,
Commit to being reflective. That was a pretty good try. with internet delays and all those kinds of things, the mantra is, I will respect your voice, interests, and identity, be fully present in our interactions, and share my story with you. I commit to being self-reflective. Awesome. All right. We're moving into the next element of the mindset. I got you. Being supportive, coaching our mentees with reflective questions. So, coach is a noun verb that's often made synonymous with mentor, right? And so we're going to get into active listening and reflective questions that can help us build rapport and relationship with our mentees. But again, first, we're going to start with a self-inventory. So get out your notes again. and I'll guide you. Who got you? Who comes to mind as a person or persons who showed up when you needed them, not just in presence, but through active listening and coaching? Name a few people who were or are in your corner. Give you 90 seconds. Who comes to mind as a person or persons who showed up when you needed them, not just in presence, but through active listening and coaching? Name a few people who were or are in your corner. See you guys right now. All right. So we're going to get into now active listening. So before we get into coaching and questions, we got to start with active listening. So active listening requires you to listening attentive to our speaker, understand what they're saying, respond and reflect on what's being said so we can retain that information for later. So this is from the Center for Creative Leadership. And we have 6 key active listening skills that will help us to do that, to set us up to providing meaningful support to our mentees. I got you, right? So we're going to start with paying attention, right? So one goal of active listening and being an effective listener is to set a comfortable tone that gives our mentee an opportunity to think and speak. We want to allow wait time before responding. We don't want to finish their sentences or interrupt or start formulating our answer before they finish talking, which is something, I mean, I know I do. That's going to be hard to do sometimes, but we want to be focused in the moment, make eye contact and operate from a place of respect as a listener, right? We want to withhold judgment. Active listening and mentoring requires an open mind. We need to be open to new ideas, new perspectives, and new possibilities when interacting with our mentee, because we need to remember that their identity is dynamic, right? They're growing, they're developing, they're changing, and they are here to tell us who they are, right? And then we have reflect, clarify, and summarize. So this is where you reflect back what you're hearing to ensure our own understanding. So we may repeat or paraphrase. Ask any clarifying questions. So make sure we have our information straight and potentially asking for more detail to give our opportunity, to give our mentee the opportunity to engage more in their story. And we want to summarize to ensure our mentee knows that, that we understand and that they are being heard. So what I have here is lifted again from the Search Institute. This is an active listening activities that's made specifically for teachers and tutors, people who are practicing active listening in the context of programming and student learning. Again, of course, we have this linked for you, but for those of you who train mentors or tutors or who are working specifically on students who are learning or trying to have academic enrichment and achievement, this is a really great activity to review. But for us, we are going to get into some active listening practice. So remember, with our I got you supportive element, we're coaching in questions. So with our active listening, we want to be prepared with the right kind of reflective questions. And a reflective question is an open-ended question that promotes our mentee to continue talking, right? And to share it with us. So again, from our friends at Search Institute for this activity, they frame questions into 4 different types of questions. So first we have sparks questions, which help us learn about what sparks our mentees' interests, what makes their eyes light up, their brains fire up, what gives them their sparks. Then we have strengths questions, which help us figure out what our mentee is great at and what our mentee's self-perception is regarding their own strengths. Then we have struggles questions, which is, what it sounds like, learning about what our mentee may be dealing with that's not so easy, and what they may want to change about their situation. And then we have supports questions, which determines not only how we can support our mentee, but where our mentee derives support from and what their support network looks like. So Andre just dropped a link in the chat. This is to some examples of each type of question. We're going to break into small groups now, so we can just simply have a conversation. We can get to know each other, practice some using these types of questions, and practice some of those active listening skills that we just talked about. So I'm going to pause our recording as I break you into groups. Make sure you... Welcome back. I know the conversation was brief, but I promise you guys will get an opportunity to reconnect. Let me know how that was. Drop in the chat what kind of questions you were able to ask. Was it helpful to think about to frame your questions through those kind of different lenses of the 4 S's? Yeah, Ulysses was very enticing. Feel free to come off mute. Let me know if looking through questions through those 4 S's was helpful in a way, especially when we think about rapport building, right? And really getting to know someone. We talked about how we frame strength questions with elementary and middle schools because they don't always like to see the best in themselves. Oh yeah, definitely.
Kind of similarly, we talked about how these 4 questions are just help round out the conversation. In Baltimore City, there's a lot of deficit-based narratives around the work. So talking with young people a lot about the struggles. So all these struggle questions, but then forcing yourself to actually think about strengths and supports and sparks. Just felt like a good way to round that out so that everything isn't just deficit-based.
Yeah. Yeah, no, such a great point. And something I liked about the struggles questions too was the question like, what would you change about your situation, right? Not just like, what's so terrible, but the idea of like, with the agency, what would you do with your power, right? To change about it, and having the young person or the mentee be the solution seeker in that situation rather than an adult telling, or a mentor, right, telling somebody how to solve their problem. Yeah, thanks, Tracy. Great. Yeah, and again, for those of you who train mentors, this is a great activity for a mentor training, for if you're doing matching, a matching mixer for prospective mentors and mentees, an opportunity to see where conversations go for potential matches. So a lot of different ways to use this. And again, this is from Search Institute, so more resources on their website. But yeah, thank you guys for engaging in that. And now we're wrapping up. I got you, and being supportive. We can say the mantra together. Stay on mute if you want to say it, but we're going to say it out loud. But our mantra for I got you is I will be curious about you and your journey, be consistent in showing up, and collaborate with you to create a safe and healthy space for us. All right. Oh no. I jumped ahead. No. Okay, we're back. All right, we're now on our 3rd element of the mentoring mindset. I'm here to help, being developmental. And we're going to learn how to create and support a plan of action for our mentee. So again, we're going to give you a little bit of time for some reflection. So get out your notes, thinking about who helped you, right, along the way. Ooh, pardon me. So when you encountered a challenge as a young person or as an adult, who was there to help you navigate what you needed? Or did that outside support or systems? Who helped activate your understanding of your rights, voice, and power? take a minute or so to think about that. When you encountered a challenge as a young person or adult, who was there to help you navigate what you need? Who helped you activate your understanding of your rights, voice, and power? Okay. Again, come back to the notes in a larger conversation. We're getting into how can we be here to help? Okay. So some of you may be familiar with our Becoming a Better Mentor resource. It is a 12-chapter resource that's made exclusively for mentors. You can access it by text, audio. It's now in Spanish, but this resource is, specifically for you, mentors. But there is a chapter that is specifically on goal setting and support, and that's where this image is from here. So it's, perfectly suitable here when we're thinking about how we can help our mentee create a plan of action and how we can support them along the way. And it's really quite simple. So throughout the mentoring mindset, we're honoring who our mentee is. Oh, pardon me. Let's get into it, is what I'm saying. Click. Okay. So first step, identifying positive and personally relevant goals, right? So we're talking about throughout the mentoring mindset, you said before, we want to honor who our mentee is and therefore their goals that they're working for need to be personally relevant to them. So often, as adults, particularly adults in the adult young person mentoring relationship, we're trying to help and outline what their goals should be. Even like the managerial relationship, right? We're trying to tell our person that we're managing what their goals should be and guide them in the direction that we want them to go. But if it's not personally relevant, the odds of it being successfully pursued, drop immediately. So we want these goals to be personally relevant and positive for our mentee, right? So next, identifying strategies and resources that can be used to help them reach their goals. So this is where you really shine in the I'm here to help, right? So we can think about the strategy box from earlier. That could be a tool you could use here, but you may be familiar with more resources just from your own life experiences of being an older person, being older than your mentee, being a more experienced professional. This is also where you can remind your mentee to identify who are the people in their life who can provide support and help. Who are the other folks with mentoring mindsets that can support them in their goals? Who else is here to help? Because again, as we noted early on, ideally our young people and people are having more than one mentor in their life. And then lastly, identifying potential barriers to reaching their goals and developing contingency plans, backup plans in case they arise. So, contingency plans and backup plans aren't necessarily the easiest things to think through, but this is where your further along life experience can help out your mentee and encourage your mentee to sort through potential barriers on the front end so it doesn't slow your mentee down along the journey. So again, this is covered more in depth in chapter 10 of Becoming a Better Mentor. I encourage you to dive into that chapter and to really work through this. Again, for our people who are training mentors, etc., we could do a whole training on this. If you're interested in that for your program, please let somebody on the mentor MDDC team know. But the real summation of the chapter is these things, is that young people have goals that are relevant to them, that they have strategies to follow along the way, that they seek help and know who they can ask help from, and that they have contingency plans along the way. So It's simple, but it's not simple. But it's made more simple when they have somebody who's a mentor, right? Who's along the side working with them. So that seems fast, but we're already here. We're ready for our mantra as we move into our last element of the mentoring mindset. So for I'm here to help, developmental. I will be curious about you and your journey, be consistent in showing up, and collaborate with you to create a safe and healthy space for us. So we're now getting into our last element of the mentoring mindset, and then we'll move into some practice and tools. But the last one I think is most fitting to be, we are in this together, communal, practicing community, right? They must know you love them. Which I'm guessing, drop a one in the chat if you love them on this call, if you love the kids, if you love your mentees. So to start, we're going to do that self-reflection yet again. Who was with you along the way? I'll give you some time. Who modeled how to build positive relationships with peers? What do you think these people learned and affirmed from their interactions with you? Take some time to think about that. We're thinking, who was with you? Who modeled how to build positive relationships with peers? And what do you think these people learned and affirmed from their interactions with you? All right. Thank you for taking that time. And move into how do we do this, right? When we say they must know you love them, we can do that by practicing the concept of unconditional positive regard. So could somebody read the slide for me? If somebody doesn't mind coming off mute.
I can. Unconditional positive regard means I care about you, you have value, you don't have to do anything to prove to me, and nothing will change my mind. It's seeing somebody as a whole and a complete and worthy person starting from a place where care doesn't have to be earned. It's just assumed. Everybody gets care. You're allowed to mess up. You're allowed to have struggles, but that is never going to invalidate your worth, and it's never going to invalidate my care for you.
Thank you. So this is such an important part of the mentoring mindset because it permits everyone to be mentored, right? We talked about the opportunity where how mentors, potential mentors and mentees are everywhere, but with unconditional positive regard, it ensures that no one can be excluded from mentoring if we're practicing unconditional positive regard. We can catch everybody under our unconditional positive regard because we'll see them, we can support them, and we're here to help them. And that's kind of the magic of the mindset. It doesn't mean that it's always easy to practice unconditional positive regard. Any parents on the call, I'm sure will know that for sure. Or anybody who's been working in the field long enough knows that it's not always easy to practice unconditional positive regard, but the power and potential of it is in our hands as mentors and as potential mentors. And if we practice this idea that young people don't have to earn, or a mentee doesn't have to earn our ability to mentor them, then they are our mentees already, right? They're already open up to us. So, pardon me. As we formally wrap up the mindset, and then we get into our final reflections, and we're practicing communal. Our last mantra is, we will teach and learn from each other, leveraging networks and resources for the mutually beneficial growth of ourselves and our relationships and communities. So we've done all of our self-inventory reflections, and now we're going to do our final one together. And I appreciate you all taking the time to do that reflection, and I wanted to give you time to do it. Oh, I want to undo that. Undo. Previous. I appreciate you all taking the time to do that first. I wanted to give you time to do it alone first, rather than force you into conversation about your personal reflections and experiences. Give us some time for us to get to know each other over the course of the call. So now that we've talked about each element of the mindset and we had that shared perspective and knowledge, I'm going to give us time to talk about it in small groups and come together as a larger group. So as we wrap up our time of self-inventorying, we're going to talk about, as we move into your groups, talk about, who came up on each of those lists. Maybe did you see anybody from your past or from your present who showed up a lot? What did they say or do during their time of connection with you? When were they most engaged? What was the season of impact in your life? And then what would you say to the people you listed? In what ways are you playing this role to a young person or persons in your life? Whoops. Okay. So we're going to break back out into those same groups, since you already built some rapport in our last activity. I'll give you a bit more time since we have lots of questions here, and then we will also share out as a large group. So I'll also be sure to project these questions into the breakout room so you can see them there as well. So give me just 1 second and we will reopen those rooms. Welcome back, everybody. I would love to hear about some of your conversations about these people in your lives, presumably with the mentoring mindset, right? Feel free to drop in the chat. Feel free to raise your hand, come off mute. Who came up as you were doing these self-inventories? What were they doing for you? How'd they do it? And how are you maybe doing it now in your role as a mentor?
I talked. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Savannah.
I was going to say we kind of shared common traits that we experienced, and also just things what motivated us to be in the work. And I just talked about that a lot of my motivation came around paying it forward from what I didn't get, and being invested in giving young people a different experience than what I got. And I think the handful of folks that were along the way were consistent in their characteristics of holding me accountable and challenging me to think beyond where I was. So kind of talked about those characteristics and things that kind of ran consistent.
Where I'm going.
Thanks, Tracy. Yeah, Savannah, I saw your hand up.
Yes. So mostly, for me, it was mostly family, that showed up for me. And then I just wanted to reflect on the last question, the role, that I play in young people's lives. So I direct youth programming, after school and summer programming for high school teens. So I mean, I kind of just am there for them. Like if they need me, they text me needing like information on jobs, or just they need a letter of recommendation, they need anything that they need, they just kind of hit me up, text me, call me. Some kids that haven't even been in programming for years, they'll need something, or they just check in, or stop by the gym and come and see me. So I love being that and being in that role for them. It's really great, and it gives me life, really.
Yeah, thanks, Savannah. And I appreciate, Savannah, that, sometimes can be as simple as, right, getting a text and responding, right? And when we think about what mindset are you in when you're, in communication and interaction, with your mentees and young people, I think that is the simple shift that makes it, the work, right? The work of what mentors do. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, Najiva?
One of the things that I shared in my group, and it's kind of based off what the lady Tracy was just saying, how she talked about, what she didn't get growing up, and she, which kind of motivated her to be a mentor. And I think it could be the other way around as well, because, what I've learned is that some people do become mentors because of what they didn't get, like what Tracy said, and she wanted to pay it forward. And then there's others who had a mentor in their lives, and they know what it's like to have a mentor, so they want to be able to push that. And so I shared with my group that that was the case for me, because growing up, I had a youth group that I was a part of in my community. And that youth group was everything for me. It helped me to build relationships with, other, girls in the community. It helped me to just learn more about what having a mentor was. Okay, I'm coming. So I was just, it helped me a lot having that youth group and having that community. And so, that was, one of the things that I shared with my group, that, having that, having those youth leaders that were there to, help push us and keep us out of trouble really helped us to stay out of trouble. I have to stress that. Really have to stress that it helped us to stay focused and stay out of trouble. And so that's what motivated me to get into that field as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that. And that reminds us what we learned at the beginning, right? That mentoring typically begets more mentoring, which is great. And then Shanae, I see your hand up.
Hi guys. So for me, I really didn't consider it a mentor at the time, but more of a supportive adult. I had a godmother that I kind of made my godmother because she was just so empowering and encouraging, and she just supported me in ways that, even if, different emotions that I would go through. I can go to her if I was sad, I can go to her if I was joyful, and she just pushed me along the way and made me feel like I could do whatever I put my mind to. So I just would like to be that for young adults that I come across, just encouraging them and letting them know, despite whatever you may be feeling or going through, you can get through it. And if you just put your mind to things, you can be successful in life.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And another good point, right? That it might not be somebody that you would necessarily call a mentor. That's somebody who would classify like the research as an informal mentor, but it's somebody who obviously had the mindset and practiced the mindset, and it made a lasting impact, which is what, best case scenario, what we hope for and are looking for in this situation. So I want to shout out, it looks like group 8 and group 4 had some great conversations, and well, we're hoping that they continue to their work and yeah, continue their work of mentoring. So I appreciate that. I appreciate everybody's participation, your self-reflections, whatever came up for you, and sharing with the group. A few more things to share with you today before I let you go. And I'll remind you that you will get all of these things. So I'll never leave you empty-handed. So when we think about how to build relationships, and especially for newer mentors or unsure mentors, but again, for people who are doing training, this is what we call the conversation roadmap. So we talked about a few different things that can help with conversations, active listening, reflective questions, and things like that. But when you think about early on in relationships, this is a kind of a simple conversation tool. So it's simply, starting with introductions, the act of being curious, practicing validation and affirming, providing action steps. So that is to make a connection with your mentee that you're going to do something else and then follow up, right? So this, again, for newer mentors, for the unpracticed, something that they can use to build relationships. And again, for those who may be hosting matching mixers for prospective mentors and mentees, this is a great roadmap for that. This can also be used, by young people as well who may be nervous about meeting their mentor as well. And then some more reflective questions for practice. Again, there's questions about career in here, but this could be applied to another kind of matching event. But reflective questions that you can see, you could practice putting them into the 4 S's about where they kind of fit. But practice creating reflective questions for conversation as your mentors, or are you as a mentor, are practicing active listening and reflective questions. So I did, again, definitely tools for my mentor trainers out there, but for those of you who are working on, becoming a better mentor, some tips and tricks for you all. And when we think about what our goal is, right? Our goal is that we have a young person who feels all these things about themselves, that they're able to do that self-reporting, that of a positive self-perception, and pardon me, and that they are able to feel supported, feel that they can ask for help, and that they can identify goals and strategies for their goals and who can help them with their goals. So this is kind of our goal here. So to review our mentoring mindset again, what we've learned and how far we've come, our mentoring mindset is when we practice being intentional, when we practice being supportive, being developmental, and being communal, when we see our mentees, when we got them, right? When we're there to help, and when we're reminding our mentees that we are all in this together. So that's what I have for our content today. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we have coming up here at Mentor Maryland, DC, because as I mentioned, it's National Mentoring Month. It's like our Super Bowl. It's jam-packed. We have lots of exciting things for you all. And I appreciate you all being here today in this training, which I feel really sets us up for the month of being in the mentoring mindset and properly celebrating National Mentoring Month. So one, we have our MLK Inspiration Contest. Our submissions are actually extended till tomorrow, January 10th, but this is the contest for young people. So we're dropping those links now, but that is open until tomorrow night, and our award ceremony is virtual on Monday, on MLK on Day of 4, of course. This is really exciting, celebrating the works of young people. So we hope that you will come celebrate young people, but if you work with young people, refer them to the contest, of which there are prizes, which is very exciting. And then I mentioned earlier our Connect, Focus, Grow info session. This is an opportunity to learn about the Connect, Focus, Grow curriculum, which is particularly for workplace development, workplace mentoring, and things like that. Yes, Goldo, you will get the PowerPoint. We will upload this to YouTube. You will get everything. But yeah, please join us for our Connect, Focus, Grow info session. It's a power hour, lunch hour next week on Zoom. So we hope you will join us there. For anybody who works in workforce development, programs, corporate partners, businesses, school districts. Please join us to learn more about that. Connect, Focus, Grow is super cool. And then at the end of the month in Washington, D.C., the whole Mentor Maryland, D.C. team will be at the National Mentoring Summit. This is the largest convening of mentoring practitioners, researchers, youth practitioners like yourselves. Will be in D.C. at a conference at the Westin. I'm shameless promotion, I am presenting a workshop that I hope you will come to. But registration is still open and we will hope to see you there. And then we are also hosting a luncheon at the summit for our Maryland and DC program. So we hope that you will join us for that at the summit if you attend. And then next month in February, we are hosting our training for the month is combating white saviorism, talking about how to disrupt saviorism in programming. So this is also an evening training as we're trying to get as many people there as possible. It's typically one of our most popular trainings. So register now, get your reserve your spot, and we look forward to seeing you there. And then just to wrap up, again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to the Y for subsidizing our training calendar and for making this training possible. Again, it's National Mentoring Month, so we appreciate you starting to celebrate by being here on this training and learning about the mentoring mindset. And we hope to see you at the rest of our events this month. Again, I will make sure that you get this video, all the resources shared, links, everything. And yeah, thanks so much for being here and participating. Appreciate you very much. A survey again is going to pop up once we close Zoom. Please fill that out and let us know what trainings you're interested in for the rest of the year, and we will put those on the calendar. But yeah, thanks so much everybody for being here and participating, and happy National Mentoring Month. Thanks everybody. Have a great week. See y'all.
Thank you, you too.
Thanks,
So will
everybody.
those surveys be emailed to us?
It's going to pop up as soon as you exit a Zoom. It's going to pop up in your browser.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.